the city, the council feels that we owe the citizens of Clawson an explanation on what happened during the special weather event we had. And also we have a good side. We're going to swear in 2 new council meetings, or council members. The next item on the agenda is going to be the swearing in. If Glenn Shepard and George Georges could step forward. And I think I will too.
Yeah, we'll include you in that, sir.
No, you left before me. You do one time, you can do all 3 at once.
I'll do all 3. But you're running the meeting. How would you like to do it, sir?
You're just.
You're up first.
All right.
And then we'll do the gentleman response. Okay. Hi, good evening. I'm August Gischlag, the city clerk here in Clawson for week number 6.
Yeah,
And I get to swear in people already. It's pretty great. Okay, as Mayor Pro Tem, Luke, could you raise your hand, please? I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
the Charter of the City of Clawson.
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
I'll faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Mayor Pro Tem
of the office of Mayor Pro Tem
in and for the City of Clawson,
and for the City of Clawson,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Back to running the meeting. We'll have your signature in a little bit.
I have shake your hand first.
Okay. You want to go separate or the same?
Yes, sir.
Separate? Yeah. Okay, the first one here, George, I got you right here. Okay. Raise your right hand, sir, repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council
in and for the City of Clawson,
and for the City of Clawson,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll do Mr. Shepherd. Here we go. Raise your right hand.
I hope so.
Okay. Repeat after me, sir. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
the Charter of the City of Clawson,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
that I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of City Council
of the office of City Council
in and for the City of Clawson,
in and for the City of Clawson,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome, sir.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Now I'll need your signatures when you have a moment. Take your time on that. There's some pens at your spot. We put pens at the desk too. There's one there for you.
We're swearing in the new members. One thing I'd like to do is thank Paula Milan and Kathy Fellows for their dedication and participation on the council for as many years as they were, and we appreciate them. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Scripture. I don't know if she's online or not. I don't think so. Okay. Councilmember Georges.
Present.
Councilmember Moffett.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd. Here. That is a quorum, sir.
Thank you. I don't know how many people we're going to have talk about the rain event, but if I get a motion to move the public hearing until after they hear all the presenters, I think it'd be better because they're going to answer a lot of questions we'll probably get. So if we get somebody to give me a motion to move item
And the agenda.
on the agenda, move item 4 to item 6.
But
Or-
if people have questions that the people that are presenting can answer, this gives them the opportunity to ask those questions as well. What if we were to have both, like we do in a normal meeting? Public comment at the beginning for items on the agenda, and then public comment after for whatever else is on their mind.
Well, it'd have to be a motion to add another public.
I move that we amend item number 4 to be public comments for items on the agenda, and add item number 6, move item number 6 to be public comment for general public comment, and then move the adjournment to 7. What's that?
Do we have a second?
No.
You know better.
Do we have a second?
No, not yet. We don't have a second yet.
So you want to move adjournment to 7, have a second public comment, have,
Like, item number 4 to be public comment for items on the agenda, like we do in a general meeting.
okay,
And then also open the floor for general public comment after item number 5 and move adjournment to 7, so that if there's any questions, I mean, it's not a ton of people here, there might not be, but if there's any questions that they want to pose, then the presenters will be able to answer that during their presentation
okay. So keep 4 as public comment.
for
and then
items on the
have-
agenda.
Okay, then you move adjournment to 7, have 6 as a public comment.
An additional.
General public
Just add
comment.
another public comment.
Correct.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Councilmember Georges?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
That passes. We have a public comment added.
Okay. Next
Mayor
item
Pro
on the
Tem,
agenda.
may I interject real fast? The mayor, Scripture, she said she is on the phone. She is one of the floating
Oh,
bubbles
she
out
is.
there. Yes.
Mayor Scripture?
She's muted then.
Okay, so we won't count a vote then.
Okay. All right, the next item is public comment. It'll be for items on the agenda. Do we have
I'm now
anybody
muted.
in the audience that would like to?
I just got a text that she's present, if that counts.
That's good.
Yeah, I was present the first time, and I was present the second time. I've been here since for 10 minutes before the meeting.
First be first.
And we miss you, but anybody in the audience who would like to first speak about anything on the agenda? Okay, Ken, you want to see if there's anybody out in the? Ken?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have one person in the Zoom meeting. The name is Stephanie. If you'd like to speak, feel free to unmute yourself. We have a new person that is entering.
She's going to let us speak.
Yeah, that would be Julia's. Would Julia like to talk?
We'll give Julia just a moment to connect.
Hey, Ken, do they have their hand raised?
That is an option. I figure since we only have a couple people in the meeting, that we would
Might as well ask.
just go
That's
ahead and
fine.
call on them directly.
Sure.
Julia, if you'd like to speak, this is public comment right now. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, I am Julia Beatty. I live at 159 North Bywood Avenue. You know me because I've maybe not all of you. I haven't met the new city council members or the new city manager, though I have emailed you and called you. I have reached out since 2014, almost every year, probably every summer. I in fact reached out to the city council just this summer prior to the flood that happened this week. And I'm just reaching out again with the same message. I have shared information on climate change over the past 7 years. I have asked very specific questions about what is our city and our county doing, and I understand it's not just your responsibility to fix this issue. It's also a county and maybe even a federal infrastructural issue. But it has been 7 years, and if there isn't a plan in place, I think we should be very proactive about the next 7 years so we can avoid things like class action lawsuits that the city and the county just had to deal with. Instead of actually creating a plan, you were dealing with litigation for years. And I would love to be a part of it. I'd love to, I've spoken to the engineers for the 12 cities drainage facility. I've spoken to the Oakland County Water Commissioner. I've spoken to our senators and some of our representatives at the state level. just to see like what are the options. I really haven't heard any substantial answers. As a private citizen, I have invested in a backwater valve and a sump pump and a battery backup to the backwater valve. And that's all good and fine for my property, but everybody around us flooded this past week and had sewage in their basement yet again. And we were promised like that wouldn't happen. And again, after 2014, it was a 300-year flood. We had another 300-year flood, or maybe a 150-year flood last September, that people were cleaning up sewage from their basement. While I have put things in place in my basement to keep it protected, I'm worried about our community. And, you know, it's not just loss of property, though it is loss of property, tens of thousands of dollars that people lose. It's also a health hazard to have those toxic spores in drywall and the duct systems of people's houses. And it happens on a pretty regular basis. And so I would love to be part of the solution. I have, you know, I've spoken to some city council members have actually gotten back to me. Mr. Sampson, the mayor has gotten back to me. I have not heard from the city manager yet. But I think if we really work together and thought, like, what are some actual viable solutions? I know our budget is low. We are coming up on a school bond in a few days. And in that case, if the school bond were to pass, hopefully, there would be some property up for grabs in the city that we could possibly use to create, you know, a drainage area, maybe a retention area. Is that even an idea that we've explored? Are there other ideas that we haven't explored that could fix this problem? So I am just, you know, back with my usual summer message of what are we doing about the very clear issues that our city is facing on a regular basis with the sewer systems. And that's kind of all I have to say. So thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you for the comments. Make sure the city manager has all your contact information in case we do have a committee set up.
I just would like to add something to that, the fact that we are addressing one item that I think will help mitigate that, that's going through Planning Commission right now, and that's reduction or addressing the concern regarding impervious surfaces. And I think as far as once that goes through, that is just one step. We've got many more steps that we need to take, but that's also something that we can address through our Sustainability Committee as well. So I appreciate the question.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience change their mind? They want to talk? Nope. Don't see anybody, so let's move on to item 5. Item 5 is an after-action report. It's a really assessment of damages as a result of the July 25th severe weather event. We're gonna go through it in 4 steps. First one's gonna be Nick, who's gonna tell us what he knows about what happened that day.
Good evening, Council and Clawson community. I'm just here to give a brief overview of what occurred on Saturday evening, July 24th. That evening, a severe thunderstorm rolled through southeast Michigan, causing power outages and flooding across multiple counties. At 7:58 p.m., Oakland County activated their severe weather siren after they received notice of a tornado warning from the National Weather Service. While there was significant damage caused by the high winds in the area, Clawson was fortunate enough to have been missed by the extreme winds and tornadoes. With that said, rest of southeast Michigan was also experienced significant rainfall in a very short period of time. Clawson received approximately 1.5 to 3 inches of rainwater in the span of about 45 minutes to an hour. Due to the severity and significant amount of rainfall in a short period of time, the drains reached capacity at a faster rate, which displaced the mass amount of rain. I will allow the Department of Public Works and Oakland County professionals to elaborate more on the drains and the water flow. Since Monday, July 26th, we've received 15 flood claim forms. And while we know more residents and members of the community have been affected by the rain, we encourage everyone who is affected to submit the form, which can be found online or at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Well done. Next presenter on the agenda is our Oakland County Commissioner, Penny Loops. Did you bring somebody with you, Penny?
I did. First, I want to say hello to
Hello.
our Mayor Pro Tem and Council and city staff. It's nice to see everybody again. I know on Tuesday, Mayor Pro Tem, you texted me about an after-action meeting to discuss the weather event, and would we want to come and discuss? So that's what we're here to do. And I have Jim Nash, who's our Water Resource Commissioner, Gary, an engineer, and Kelsey, our Attorney and Special Projects Manager from the Water Resource. So our water flooding has been a problem in Clawson for many years. It's a regional problem. We have climate change. We all need to work together, starting from the city and moving outward. So I will let the experts speak to what's going on.
Thank you.
Oh. All right. Commissioner Nash.
Experts.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're here today to give a brief statement and then just get any questions or anything we need to discuss. So I'm Jim Nash, Water Resource Commissioner for Oakland County. Again, we're here because of the storm that happened. Again, from our perspective, we haven't really had a chance to get a lot of the data, a lot of the things that we need to do to kind of analyze what happened. We will be doing that. This is a process we have to go through. So this was an exceptionally strong storm, and we've been having a series of them this year, and nobody's not aware of that. At my house, my whole backyard usually in the spring gets a little floody and then goes away. I haven't been able to get my lawnmower around my house to get to the other side since all this started in June. So I totally understand. The ground is very saturated right now, so there's very little chance to infiltrate into the ground because it's already saturated. So going forward, we mentioned your caller, the planning process and what we're doing. So we've been working with all the communities in the George W. Kuhn district, including yours, on kind of analyzing all your ordinances, your development practices, to see where we can do more to limit runoff, to do more around green infrastructure, to develop these lands in ways that are going to be less impactful in rainstorms. So this is something that we've been working on for some time. The Great Lakes Water Authority has helped regionally. We've been bringing our membership, all our regional partners together. We developed a regional wastewater master plan that's really kind of working to address all the things that we're talking about today. Somebody also mentioned climate change. We're seeing these storms increase in intensity in the last about 30 years. Our universities, the Coalition of Universities in Michigan, have been studying this in significant detail. They've been pointing out that every year we've been seeing an increase in extreme storms. We saw the storm here in 2014. You might remember up in the UP, we had up in Houghton, they had a storm, it was about 5 years ago now, that pretty much wiped out all the infrastructure in that community. The roads were basically destroyed, bridges, it was the impact was staggering. So these storms are becoming more frequent. This is what the regional efforts are looking at, is how we can start addressing this in a significant way with all our partners. So we want to work with not only all the communities in Oakland County, especially in this part of the area because it's a combined system, but all our regional partners, because there's ways we can do things in the future as we develop. So when there's what we're seeing is these very small kind of cell storms that we saw on that the last storm we saw on the 25th. White Lake, they got hit with tornadoes. I was on 59 the next day, and I saw a building for the, what was it, the Salvation Army, where a big chunk of it was torn off by the wind. I live in Farmington Hills, and we had trees all along 10 Mile Road that were toppled because of the wind. So this isn't just rain, it's also significant windstorms and damage that can be caused by that. Again, long term, we're working with the communities. We want to make sure that we're a partner in everything that we can do. Any advice we can give you as you develop your sustainability plans, we're here to help do that. We're a resource for the long-term adjustments that we have to make. to deal with the effects of climate change. Again, some of our systems are much older than others. The systems that were built for what used to be called a 10-year storm, intensity-wise, and now we're seeing those 10-year storms are just kind of falling away. And we had a chart that was given to us just the other day at my office that shows the progression of what we're seeing as the level of storms. What now, a 100-year storm, I think, if I recall just from memory, was about 4.5 inches, was a 100-year storm. By the turn of the century, this coming century, it's going to be about an 11-inch storm. So the progression is going to be significant, and this is what we're going to have to deal with as a system. My office, we're looking to make sure that these kind of storms are something that we're going to be addressing every way we can. So we're looking to do projects in these systems to help low-lying areas be less susceptible to storm surges, to storm flooding. So we want to start with the lower elevations, because that's where the most serious problems are going to be, and that's what we need to start addressing with the community so we can go forward. I brought with me Kelsey Cook. She does special projects, the legal side, all the things that we have to do to make sure that we're with the law on any kind of instances like this, or just in a general purpose. And Gary Nigro, he runs the system at the George W.K. He's one of our chief engineers that oversees all these systems. So did you want to say something before we start, or?
Could I ask a question first?
Please.
So as far as the event that we had on the 24th, was that just because of the rain that we had, the amount of rain that came down, or was it a combination of the saturation within the soil and the rain?
I think the saturation played a role, but it was the amount of rain we had in an exceptionally small period of time. And I think you mentioned, what was it, 45 minutes, and you had 2 inches of rain? I mean, that is a staggering amount of water that can come in at one time. And what it does is it kind of overwhelms the storm drains in the road, right? It can be so much that it can't pass the water through fast enough to keep up with the thing. And that way, not only the street can flood, but it can surcharge those small pipes that come right into the initial part of the system. And then once that happens, it's really hard for them to recover until that rain stops. So again, once we had these very, very fast, and Gary mentioned to me earlier in the week that I think it was 18 minutes that the George W. Kuhn basin filled up. I think that was the fastest in record. The storm in 2014, it filled up almost as fast, but the rain kept coming.
Yeah.
It stopped. Once the rain stops, then it can start to catch up to the rain, impact.
Yeah, that was an all-day storm.
No,
No, I was just going to say, so you also mentioned that you had a progression of level of storm data. Is that something that you could share, or?
Well, again, we're developing that data right now. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you, so there's definitely, I'm gonna correct one thing my boss said here. Yes, the antecedent moisture conditions in the ground has a big impact on how much rainfall runs off into the collection system. So the number of rain events we've had recently and the intensity of them, it does have a big impact on it. Because some of these storms, you do an analysis after the fact and you look at it and go, why did this hit everybody so hard? Because by some of the data, it looks like it wasn't that intense of a rain event. But just to give you an example of how many rain events we've been hit by recently, it was this afternoon when I found out by email with Michael Smith that you guys were talking about the July 25th event. I assumed it was the June 25th. I put a few slides together, I had it in my pocket in a thumb drive, and I was like, oh, that's not even the same one they're talking about.
That dodged us by 15 miles. Right?
Yeah. And we've had 3 actually in the last month that were, I would say, significant. But it does have a fair amount to do with it, the frequency of the rain. I think just to our west, some of the rain gauges that we have around the county have recorded up to 9 inches of rain just for the month of June, and I think for July also. So the average, for June and July is right around 3 inches of rain. So we've received about 3 times the amount of rain what we're normally accustomed to seeing. So, you know, and as Jim mentioned, you know, these systems are designed to handle a certain amount of rainfall, you know, and there's a quick assumption that if they backed up, something must have broke, something must have malfunctioned, or something like that, you know. But the truth of the matter is that it's designed to convey a certain amount of rainfall, and more than that rain fell in.
Did you have any failures in your system?
Not that I'm aware of, but, you know, I'm also, this is partly a fact-finding mission for me tonight, so I think the last gentleman said there were 14 or 15 basement backup claims, so I'm interested in seeing where those are at also, and, you know, when you plot them out, you can see if there's a pattern to it. So I've already put a contractor, you know, a bug in his ear saying, hey, I might be calling you soon here, because if there is a clear pattern that was developed, and you say like, oh, they're all right here, then what I'll do is I'll have that contractor enter those pipes and do an inspection and make sure there's no damage or blockage in the pipes, and if there is, we'll have it corrected.
But that's just on the infrastructure. There's also as far as the topographical and nature of the soil, right? So as far as where the water level table is for that also should be considered. If you find that there's nothing wrong with that, right? There may be something that's just naturally causing that we need to somehow address if it's not infrastructure.
There would be truth to that statement as well. So,
With the data you accumulated so far, have you made any changes in the last week? In case we have another event right now, today? Any changes made in the last week with the data you got from the last rain?
like to our system?
Yeah, to your system.
Our
Or is it still the same way exactly?
Our system's been in the ground for, a lot of this for 50 years plus, you know, so.
But do you have routing valves and stuff where you can route water different ways?
The short answer is no. The whole system is designed by gravity, so it all flows through the entire 12 towns relief drain system, and it all flows its way to the George W. Kuhn retention treatment facility that Jim mentioned, and it's just a series of weirs, you know, like dams, so that the water fills up, it goes over one, fills up the next compartment, spills into the next one, and then after the last one, it goes into the Red Run drain. There's a lot that goes on in between there too in our facility, because it's actually a pollution control facility, and it's not a flood control facility. And I have to always try to remind people of that when they say, did your flood facility do something wrong? And I was like, no, it performed its job. It did what it's supposed to meet the clean water standards of the state, you know, because this is, as I'm sure everyone's aware, you know, southeast Oakland County is a combined sewage system. So the same pipe that carries sanitary sewage carries storm drainage also. So it's a combination of the two. So, and back in the 70s, you know, every single rain event that happened, all that sewage just went straight into the lakes and rivers and streams. And it rains, you know, 55, 60 times a year in southeast Michigan. So there's been numerous projects that have been completed over the years, starting in the early 70s, to actually capture and treat that flow. And so now we're at a point now where on average, it's 7 or 8 times a year does that combined sewage actually leave our facility and make it into the drainage system, which goes on its way to the Clinton River. So, and even then, it's permitted by the Department of Economic Growth, Labor, and Action. They changed their name recently, so the DEQ, it's now called EAGLE. So I'm going to butcher their acronym, but so from about 60 times a year down to 8 times a year of treated effluent leaves the facility. So, but I'm sure the people in Clawson are less interested in the pollution control facility right now, and just why did their basements back up? You know,
Okay.
so and I was actually happy to hear Julia Beatty talk, because she mentioned me, I think, maybe not by name, but another engineer office did visit her last year on September after the September 25th rain event, I believe it was, which was a very intense storm. And as she mentioned, she did put in have a backflow preventer put into her home. And so I think she told me this, well, she said it again here, that it performed its job and kept the backup out of her basement this time. So, which is excellent, you know, because the short, quick solution to if you're having frequent issues, you know, is to install something like that inside of your home. You know, it's the I don't want to say surefire, but it is the kind of the surefire way to make sure that a backup doesn't occur into your own home. So, you know, I highly recommend them, but and I think I heard some discussion about people maybe in Clawson were trying to get a hold of people in Oakland County and didn't know how, or I don't know if there's anything like that. So I'll stick around too and listen to the residents, because it sounds like they wanted to hear us talk first and then come in.
A question for Commissioner. Is there any county money that people could come and try to get back money for backflow valves?
We have no money set aside for that at present. So I'm going to go back and simply say our sewers, we have a combined water sewer system in Clawson with our first sewers placed in 1909 when we were farmland. So some of our sewers are small with the combined water sewer system. All the water and the runoff is going to go through our sewer system here in Clawson, and it goes into the county pipes. It flows in there, and then it flows into the drain where that did its job. So it's a combination of things. It's climate change. It's what people can do around their houses. It's what people can do in their houses. And it's what the city and the county and the other cities can do together to work to solve this problem. It's going to be money. And that's why I know we in Clawson have not separated our water sewer. There are other cities in the county that have a separated system that do not experience this flooding. But we're talking big bucks to make that happen for everyone.
Okay. You guys, are you going to talk,
Sure.
Kelly?
Well, I'll just kind of mention a little bit more about how the system would work and how you could a solution. And there's probably three different answers for a solution. So one would be to use the collection system less. All right. So what that would look like are things like detention basins to make sure that the water doesn't enter the collection system as fast. I think that Clawson already does things like restricted catch basin covers.
Yeah, we'll have a presentation in a minute by Mr. Hodges.
Can I make a comment, please?
Sure can.
This is Mitchell Bonich. I'm the owner of the building Solano G's in. We had sewage back up into our salon Saturday night.
Yeah, why don't you hold that until the public comment later? I thought you were the mayor. So, yeah, hold it off until the...
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So solution one, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We lost our mayor. She's up there somewhere.
Use the system less, and that could be, you know, like I said, that could be detaining the water in detention basins, things like that, or even storing it in the streets, which would be restricted covers. I can't help but wince every time I've heard on the radio recently where down in Detroit they've obviously experienced the same type of issues over the last month, 5 weeks, and I don't remember which official was going on the radio saying, we got to get out here and clean all the leaves off the catch basins so this thing works right. And I'm kind of going, oh my gosh, don't wait.
Yeah.
If you see water stored in the street, that's that much less water that's in your basement.
I believe Mr. Hodges is going to talk about that to the citizens in a few minutes.
All right. And just on a side note, there's some states like that actually purposely design detention right in the roadways.
That much less, well.
Go ahead.
Okay. And then also, obviously, infiltration. If you can infiltrate the water into the ground so it doesn't run off into the collection system, that's also could be a big perk. We don't always have the right ground conditions. You know, if you have high permeability soils and sands and things like that, those tools can be very effective. You know, the terms green infrastructure are what's always thrown around. So, and we are definitely promoting that in our office too, where applicable, right? If it's going to make an impact, you know. So, and I think we're working. We have different people in the county at the WRC who are actively working with all of the communities in Southeast Oakland County for meetings, doing things like ordinance audits and things like that. We've done in the last year or so to see if there's anything in the ordinance which would conflict with things like infiltrate more water into the ground. So. I could give you stories from back.
We don't need stories.
Perfect.
We were just
Great.
saying that example of the fact that we require asphalt for our driveways, and there's no getting around that. That's one of the things that we had been trying to address, that we have more creative solutions to somebody that, maybe that'll even allow for the drainage of their backyards. Although that sounds like that, if they can have too much clay and they're having, storage in their backyard, maybe that's not that bad. I never thought about it that way. But still, like you said, as far as it's the ground penetration, right?
Yeah.
But, I hear people wanting to try and amend their soil and add sand to clay, and all you're going to get is cement when you do that. So it's very, you just can't just throw things in the backyard and hope that it works, right?
Right.
So,
on the other hand, having less permeable soils might mean you're primed for detention.
Yep.
You hold the water and you let it back out in the system slowly. So there's things like that. So first one, use it less. Put less water into the system. All right. Second one, build giant, what we call gray infrastructure. Massive, massive projects. And I'll give you the example of MDOT right now. So if most of you are, I'm sure, aware of the amount of work going on in MDOT and I-75 between 13 Mile and 8 Mile right now. But a part of that work is a 14-foot diameter tunnel, a storage and conveyance tunnel, and it runs 4 miles from 12 Mile Road all the way to 8 Mile Road. And all the MDOT pump stations, which are currently along that stretch, are going to be eliminated, and all that flow is going to fall into the storage tunnel and then flow down to a single dewatering pump station right on the GWK property, which MDOT has already entered an agreement with us to operate that pump station on their behalf. And what that does is that basically takes MDOT's highway flow, all the drainage that comes off the highway, that's normally pumped up into the 12-town system that all of you use as well, and it takes it out of the equation. It stores it in this tunnel, and then it's pumped back into to the system slowly. So that has the potential to have a decent impact on the amount of room that the 12 towns has. And I use that example too because I want to shock and awe people with that project. Just the storm tunnel portion of it is around a little over $200 million. So that's the kind of money that MDOT is investing into trying to make sure that the freeway system doesn't flood going forward. Because we've all seen those pictures too in the news, a bunch of cars underwater in the low spots. So they've taken the step to invest $200 million into that piece of gray infrastructure to try to prevent flooding on their freeway systems. So, I'm not saying that Clausen's price tag to do something similar would be the same, but it'd be extremely invasive and very expensive.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming out here today.
Yeah, and the third option would be to just keep the water out of your basement by putting in like a backflow preventer or something like that.
So I just wanted to
kind of wind up with, we have a bunch of information. We have some infographics just for the public input about explaining how these systems work, how to report if there's if you have flooding issues, and again, how to do some of these mitigation efforts for your home and for the larger groups. So we have that available to you, and I think we've already given them to the community before, but we'd be happy to give them again.
Send them the mic again.
I'm sorry?
I emailed council everything.
Oh, okay, great.
Well, if
So
if you could send them the mic again to make sure so we can get it out to community now.
okay.
That'd be appreciative of.
Absolutely. Well, we'd be happy to do any way we can to help inform the public about this. So, again, we're here to do anything that we can to make sure that people get the best out of this and suffer the least in the long term. So if we have any more questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Well, it doesn't look like you have any. Guess we'll move on to Mr. Hodges.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having me. I'm not going to rehash the event. I'll give you what happened afterwards.
Can you adjust your mic? It's
Use the mic this time.
taller than me.
Okay, how's that? Okay, I'm not going to rehash the actual storm, but what we've done since, we've evaluated the problem areas where we were told of. We've cambered the lines. We found minimal root intrusion that's since been cleared, but those were mainly coming out of the homeowner's taps. To address what Gary was saying here about minimizing the water, on Saturday night, the mayor actually called me and said, hey, there's road flooding. What do we do about it? And it's leave it in the road. You don't let it discharge slowly, because that's just, it's either in the road or potentially in the basement. Another issue that a lot of the homeowners experienced was an actual sanitary backup. When the water is discharging through the system, it creates an air pressure. There was videos posted on Facebook of the manhole covers coming up and spinning with water spraying up. That wasn't actually water coming up out of the manhole. That was rainwater being pushed up with the air pressure. But that air pressure is also going up your sanitary lead, and it'll blow out any water that's in your sanitary lead, including, excuse me, including what's in your floor traps in your basement. And that's where you're getting, you're getting the clear water coming back in. Another issue that we've seen is the edge drain around the foundation is blocked before it goes into the sanitary lead. In a lot of the older homes in Clawson, that edge drain is actually tied into one of the floor drains, and there's nowhere for that. It's not going into the sanitary lead out, so it's coming up through your floor drains.
How could a resident find that out? Would they have to have their system cambered?
Their first, getting into the edge drain system is kind of hard with a camera and a snake, but that would be the route to go. Short of digging it up, but
You're
yes.
talking about the internet. I happened to see some of them saying, and that woman with the water coming through the wall, is that a city problem?
No, it's a foundation problem. And that's most likely her edge drain on the outside is blocked, and the water's been sitting against that foundation for a while, and it's working its way through the foundation.
Okay. Did we have to make any repairs to anything?
We just cleared the minimal root intrusion that we found.
Okay.
There was no repairs. We have no other issues found.
Are we making any changes at all?
No, none.
Okay, I appreciate that, Pat.
Anybody else? No.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing on the agenda would be the city manager is going to sum this up.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the distinguished guests that came tonight. Thank you to the Water Resource Commissioner's office. Thank you to Matt, Trevor for being present, and Commissioner Lubes, and for holding this meeting. Clearly, they're still currently in the collecting data phase. We'll work with the county as well, like you said, fact-finding, getting all this information together. I appreciate the Department of Public Works staff working. Fire and police departments were out there making sure they had minimal calls at that time. Luckily, we did not lose power or have any tornado damage. I do live in White Lake, so yes, I was affected by the tornado area. So as noted, if you have any experienced any basement flooding, please submit those claims. I believe August has them printed out. You can also find them online. I believe I notified other staff members if anything, any residents have any questions, where to direct them, what information to provide. We will continue to assess this, and just kind of to give you the heads up at the next meeting on August 4th. AEW, who is our engineering firm, they'll be presenting their updated plan that they have, which just discusses a lot of infrastructure needs for the city that was last presented last year. They've updated it with new numbers for water and sewer issues that we're going to have those discussions that we started, I believe, last meeting to discuss for future planning for long-term needs of the city that we know are present. As stated with how long the systems are in there, it's going to be a lot of long-term projects. So AEW is going to be working with us. I know we've talked about the MS4 standards and new ordinance reviews going through with that in the future. And all we can say is we can discuss this deeper moving forward, and got a lot of great ideas with the Sustainability Committee, as Mr. Shepherd stated, with the Planning Commission, talking about impervious driveways. I'm going to be having Oakland County SISMA coming out to talk about some issues next week as well for natural plantings and other things like that we can focus on, and other approaches in our community. And I think as we continue to move forward with our capital improvement planning and our general planning for the city, I believe that looking at some of those other methods for concrete work to have more impervious surfaces, like we stated, whenever we do projects, to have different green projects, green infrastructure. I was just on the call, I think, with the GWK group that we had, talking about green infrastructure and really focusing on that moving forward. So those are some things that we definitely will be having those further discussions about. Again, I just want to thank everyone for attending this evening.
Mike, the claim forms, when you say everybody send the claim forms in immediately, I just think, hey, if I send this claim form in, somebody will send me money back. Describe what happens to that claim form.
You have 45 days per the Public Act to submit it. At that point, then we process them through our liability insurance, and that's similar to the last year's process. They evaluate all that and assess that. There is no definitive idea, but that's part of the Public Act, is that it's normal standard practice is they complete those forms. I believe the WRC has those same forms. It's per the Act that they have to submit those forms to us.
How long before they know they're getting something back? It's going to be a couple of months, right? At least.
Yeah, you have 45 days to submit it. At that point, then we submit it to our liability insurance, and yes, it could take months to hear back.
Okay, thanks.
And I have reached out to the small business administration, who I think just recently helped with, as Gary mentioned, about the June flooding issue down more in Detroit. They just emailed me about some information, and I think we have to hit a certain limit. I think it's 25 residents that don't have insurance, I think is what it was. I'm touching base with them as well to see if there's any grant opportunities for residents that might need some assistance.
You know the answer for that, the August 4th meeting?
I hope I have that information, but yes, AEW will be presenting about some of the long-term infrastructure needs at the August 4th meeting.
Okay.
And when WRC and I and the rest of our staff will be in contact as we continue to assess all of the information.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, the next item on our agenda is public comment again. Anybody in the audience like to say anything? Step up and state your name.
This is Mitchell Bonich.
Oh, hold on, Mr. Bonnet. We're gonna do the people that are present at the meeting right now first.
My name is Christine Ryan.
Okay.
I've been a business owner in Clawson for 25 years. My company is Ryan Cabinetry. Oh, sorry. My name is Christine Ryan, and my business is Ryan Cabinetry. I've been in Clawson for 25 years. On Saturday, we experienced sewage backup, and 3/4 up our building, or inside the building. Carpets go under all the furniture. Everything is destroyed. That touches the floor. And as far as my insurance goes, it's not something that's covered. And in 25 years, I've never had any damage like this. I would like to understand why none of the other buildings around me had the same problem. We don't have a basement. My guess is that it has something to do with the cover, possibly my proximity to the drain. The water, I am assuming, came up from the toilets, because again, we don't have a basement. It's pretty devastating. I'd like to understand it. The storms keep coming more and more, and if this is a problem that we're going to have to deal with more often, we've got a lovely new development being built, which is just going to put that much more on the system, more concrete, and I just...
Yeah. Mr. Hodges, would this be something you could look into?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Mr. Bonnet?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you good.
I get to talk now?
Yep, it's your turn. Thanks for your patience.
That's okay. Just want to make sure I'm doing it right. I just wanted to let the people from Oakland County and you guys know that apparently it wasn't just people who own houses in Clawson. Saturday evening, my wife was working late at Solano G, working on our daughter's hair. And sometime around 9:30, about 9:30, she heard loud gurgling sounds coming from the salon drain, which is in a closet in about the middle of the salon. And water started coming up shortly after she heard the gurgling sound. Came up for about 5-10 minutes. It stopped, but by that time there was water flowing on our wooden floor, and fortunately it did stop, and she had to throw down a bunch of the towels. It had black stuff in it and stunk, so it for her, as far as she was concerned, it looked like sewage. So they spent the next hour cleaning that up. Fortunately, again, after the first 5-10 minutes, the water stopped coming up, and it did start to recede, but it left water in the salon. So it wasn't just, I just wanted to say, it apparently wasn't just houses and basements that were getting this. Our salon got water in it.
So do you have a
Saturday
basement?
night. No.
That's slab.
So
This is our main floor.
And I'm curious, as far as across the street, there's basement in the, what is it, 1 Main Street, South Main Street? I can't remember what the address is.
This is 13 South Main Street,
Yeah,
our
exactly.
salon.
I mean, the fact that there's a basement across the street from you, but the fact that
They're on 2 separate sewers.
they are, oh, okay. Interesting, okay. All right, so, yeah,
So
obviously.
I don't know if any other businesses in the southeast corner got any water, like the dentist next door to us or Da Nang, what used to be Da Nang, whether they got any water, but we sure got water. And in the 11 years that we've been there, we've never gotten water backing up into the salon. We've had the ceiling leak, and we've had water flow into our salon through the back door because of too much water in the alley. But this is the first time we've experienced water coming up through the drain. Fortunately, again, my wife was there. Otherwise, she would have discovered something either Monday or Tuesday going in there, some foul odor.
Well, thank you for your input. We really appreciate it.
I was just going to say, obviously, be one of the reach 25. Is that the magic number? Is that, as far as the amount of claims, is that what I heard?
That's for the uninsured.
Oh, uninsured, okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's why they were able to, I know that the governor just got some money, I think, allocated some of the CARES or ARP money for them.
All right, still file a claim though, right?
Okay, anybody else in the audience want to, public comments? How about anybody on the, Ken, is anybody out there that is raising their hand?
Mr. Chair, apparently the mayor's having a little difficulty speaking. If she presses *6, she will unmute herself. There we go.
I hit *6 like 900 times, Ken. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Hear you?
Wow. Seriously, this is not a good system. All right. No, I have a couple corrections to make. Number one, Matt, you are awesome. Thank you for that presentation. But I got to correct you because I did not call you and ask you what to do. I called and said, I know from asking many questions in the past that you have educated me on that all of the people on Facebook that are posting to get out and clear the grate, I know that that's bad. I know you've explained to me why in an event like this, that is not what to do. And I said, somebody needs to get on Facebook and at least put that out there so people stop doing that. And you don't have authority. I texted, I'm trying to figure, nobody can get on there because of whatever. So I went on there with the information that you've shared in the past and confirmed with me and tried to correct people on that. Worked out nice because I saw a few other Facebook posts a couple days later that said, well, no, we've learned that that's not in a severe weather event. But my point to that is that our communication during these events is awful. I'm sorry, but we have people in this town, and if somebody's not available for whatever reason, like city manager, people should be delegated to be able to get on and say that have the knowledge of those things to be able to monitor that stuff because, like it or not, that's where people get their information. In severe events and a lot of other things. I don't even have cable TV. So that's where they get it, and we need to do a better job of putting information out there as events are happening. That was happening in other cities. It didn't happen here. Because people are shell-shocked from 14, clearly, as we can tell. The other thing is that email that got sent with the claim form, everybody's talking about this claim. I read the Public Act. There are conditions that have to be met, and all that stuff, I think just sending that out without any context and explaining, people just, I have people sending stuff, so, oh, good, we got a claim, so that means we're going to get, covered for this stuff, right? I'm like, no, not necessarily. People just assumed that meant we're going to get it. These things have to go out with context. And as far as I know, there's a whole list of things under that act that says in order for the city to be liable or reimbursed or some of these things have to be met. I don't know if they were or not. But that kind of explanation, instead of just sending out a form and saying file and a claim, I think would be a good idea. Information communication is important, especially in a situation like that where it needs to come immediate.
Mike, is there a way to post that claim form and a description of levels they need to meet and all that?
Yes.
Well, that they need to meet. That's what I'm saying, though. Everybody doesn't understand what it is. It's not what they need to meet. It's what we need to meet.
Well, what everybody needs to meet, we'll put it in there. Can we do that, Mike?
Yes, there's information out there now, but we'll disseminate it even clearer for them.
What day? This week? The week's ending first, say by Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody in the audience start looking at after Tuesday and it'll explain it more clearer. Okay, Madam Mayor, got any more?
To Mr. Is it Nigro or Nigro?
Nigro.
Nigro, you are outstanding. You really are. You were last time you were here. You give excellent explanations. You do a fantastic job. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate how you break this down and make it understandable. You really do a fantastic job. Thank you.
Okay.
He said you're welcome.
Now's the time for the raise.
Anything else, Madam Mayor? Did you quit talking to us?
No, I just can't hear very well. Sorry.
I just wondered if you had anything else.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience, public comment? Anybody on the web can anybody raise their hand?
There are no others in the call at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Public comments are closed. How about a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
How about a second?
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture. Yes. Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
I think she said yes, but she left early then.
Yeah. We'll
Thank you,
count.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you guys taking your time out to come see us.